everybody. Welcome to Learning the Scottish Great Highland Bagpipe with me, J.D. Ingram, pipe major of the Charleston Pipe Band. This week we're going to be learning
Lesson 30, Getting Ready to Perform. Your goal is that once you have sufficiently mastered marching, striking in, blowing in tune, playing the core repertoire, and cutting off, getting ready to actually perform with the band.
If you watched the last video, we talked about my 3 easy steps for being a great bagpiper. They are, of course, having good finger work, which we spent most of the last 29 lessons talking about. They are having good sounding bagpipes, which we have touched on less so, and good presentation skills, which is the focus of this video.
All right. If you're going to be performing bagpipes for an audience of any sort other than perhaps an instructor, there are 3 things that I believe you should wear. First would be a kilt or tartan trews. Second would be something to cover your middle. Third would be something to cover your calves. If you're not going with trews and you're not wearing boots of some sort, kilt hose like these are definitely preferred in my opinion. Kilt hose come in a variety of different colors and styles. You can get them diced with this plaid pattern. You can get them plain tops, dark colors, light colors, this thicker, they call it a popcorn top. The common style right now seems to be mostly darker or muted colors, but some will go with decorative tops or whatever. But that's something to kind of personalize and select. As far as something to cover your middle, if you are not wearing a belt, a nice thick leather kilt belt like this, a lot of them come with decorative belt buckles and stuff, then you should have a vest or a jacket or a sweater or something that covers the top of your kilt. It's my opinion. I think the top of the kilt looks weird uncovered. The next thing that you're probably definitely going to wear would be a sporran. If you're in a kilt, you don't have pockets, so something to keep your personal effects. Sporrans are a great way to signify the formality of the event. This is a plain black leather with these kind of decorative studs on it, which is black leather tends to be lower formality, but this open top clasp with the decorative clasp is higher formality. So this is kind of a nice mid-range one. Plain black leather with a fold-over top would be probably the lowest level of formality, except to go for kind of a homemade fur one. A lot of times these will come with an actual animal head or skin on it. That would be like only for period reenactments and stuff. You can get a nicer fur one, like this one made out of seal hide. These are a little more formal, and then adding a decorative top to this would be the highest level of formality. So sporran's a good way to kind of dress to the occasion. The next couple accessories to add should be selected carefully. First off, think about whatever tartan you're wearing. If you're wearing a tartan, there are kilts that are not tartan, but most are. And tartan is a very loud plaid pattern, so you don't want to be selecting colors that aren't going to match. The next most common accessory would be flashes, which are little garters to hold up your socks. They come in all sorts of colors, light colors, dark colors, tartan. This tartan does not match the tartan I'm wearing, so I'm not going to wear it. With this kilt, I tend to wear a matching blue, and those just hold up top of your socks like so, roll over, little flash of color, not too bad. The garter should point at about a 45-degree angle out from you, so not straight forward, not straight to the side, 45 degrees. The next accessory I tend to add down there would be a skin dhu, Gaelic for a black knife or a hidden knife. People wear these little kind of accessory pocket knives, usually on the same side as their dominant arm. Sometimes people will say just always the right side, since most people are right-handed. Some of them will have decorative hilts, which you can see. Others are plain. Again, it's something to personalize. The next thing I would add is a kilt pin. You can see on my other kilt here, there's a kilt pin there. Kilt pin just, it weights down the front apron so you don't accidentally flash anybody. And sometimes those are decorative as well. Shoes that you wear, if you're not wearing casual loafers of some sort, then the traditional ones are ghillie brogues, which are wingtip looking dress shoes with no tongue, and they lace around your ankle. So if you're wearing ghillie brogues, you can line yourself up. The way to tie these long shoelaces, start like you would with any normal shoe, one over the other, tighten it down, and then take them around each other. 1, 2, anywhere from 3 to 6 times. 3, 4, 5, 6. And that gets the whole thing up your ankle a little bit. Then it's round your ankle, back to the front, round your ankle again, back to the front again. Get it in a place that's comfortable. And then tie it exactly like you would a normal shoe. One over the other, loop to loop, round and tied. And now I've got a nice little bow about 2 and 3 inches up my ankle. So that's the ghillie brogues. One thing to note is ghillie brogues are typically leather shoes. If you're wearing a leather belt, be aware you can get brown leather belts and ghillie brogues, but don't mix and match. Never wear brown shoes and a black belt. The next thing I would typically consider wearing would be some sort of head covering. The traditional ones, if I'm not wearing a ball cap for something casual, traditional ones are one of 2 styles of Scottish cap, the Glengarry bonnet or the Balmoral bonnet. Both of them have the option of having this, what they call dicing, checkered pattern around the band. A Balmoral bonnet sits square on the head with the top pulled over to the side, and over your left eyebrow would be your clan crest badge or other pin. There are ribbons that flow down the back. Some people will argue that a Balmoral bonnet should have the ribbons tied up. That is a discussion for another day. The Glengarry is the more common military style cap used by pipers. This one sits maybe just at a very slight angle towards your right ear, maybe square up, depends on who you ask. Once again, you'll have a spot for a crest on the left side of your forehead and ribbons flowing free down the back. If I am wearing all of that, typically means I'm playing for a formal event. So most commonly I will wear a white dress shirt like most men in the Western world have, with a tie that kind of matches my kilt and a vest or a waistcoat as they call them in the UK. That kind of fits the standard piper's look. If you're going above that, you can add a jacket. There's Argyle style jackets, which are kind of your blazer sport coat level of formality, and then you can go all the way up to black tie, white tie level of formality with a Bonnie Charlie style with a slightly fancier waistcoat underneath. But again, just think about what you're playing for. If you're playing for standard funeral, the vest or a coat should be sufficient. If you're playing for a super fancy wedding, you might want to go up a level. If you're playing for a little Celtic festival in somebody's backyard, t-shirt's probably enough. Just match. Some accessories that might be above and beyond necessary for all the time, but sometimes they're good to have. One is a Inverness cape, rain cape. They make those that clip onto your belt and are very handy to have in wet weather. There's other things that clip onto your belt. I've had little pouches and stuff that sometimes I will carry if I've got a long day worth of gigs. because my sporran doesn't hold things like backup batteries for my cell phone, water bottles, you name it. So those are worth looking into, but probably not making part of your everyday uniform. And of course, wearing your uniform like you know what you're doing, you look like you know what you're doing, people will believe that you know what you're doing, and hopefully you've been taking these lessons seriously and you sound like you know what you're doing. So people will be very pleased with a performance that looks as sharp and sounds as sharp as I know you will.
A big part of the presentation is how you start and how you stop, and of course everything in the middle too. Starting a set of bagpipes is something that needs to be done timely and orderly, because if you take a while to blow up your bagpipes and then you let them whine in, and then you take a while to get your chanter going, and then your chanter kind of whines in, people are already going to have low expectations for what they're about to hear. When a band is getting ready to start together, they do it in 3 4-count groupings. In my band, the pipe major, that's usually me, will call in a 4-count grouping, something like band, to the right, quick, march. It will be fairly crisp so you can hear the key points in which those counts are coming, and you can get a feel for the tempo. The next 4 counts will be marked by 3 beats of rolls and a pause. In my band, you put your hand on your bag to prepare to strike in on beat 1. Some bands prefer you to do it on beat 2 or 3. The last set is where you actually strike in. The drums will have 3 more beats of rolls and 1 more beat of pause. The pipers will get their drones struck in on beat 1. During beat 2, you will take the bag and shove it quickly high up into your armpit and get your hand back on the chanter, which means you need to practice this because that goes by quickly. On beat 3, the chanters come in sounding an E. This is the most common situation, though sometimes a band will have you come in sounding a different note, but very rarely. And then on the 4th beat, while the drummers are pausing, this is where any pickup notes to the tune might happen. So in tunes like The Dawning of the Day and our We Irish set, you begin here. While you're playing, it's important to prepare for the end as well. You don't want to be going along and then have the end surprise you and kind of whine out because your bag is still really full and just slowly deflates. Being prepared for the end means allowing your bag to deflate a little bit in advance of the ending. From the point that you start letting your bag deflate means you're going to have to rely more on your arm pressure for the final phrase or 2 of music. And then when it is actually time to stop making sound, you have to completely and quickly remove pressure from the bag so that all sound stops instantaneously and without that telltale of somebody who was not prepared to cut out. In between the start and the stop, you still have to be very keenly focused. Pay attention to what's going on. Focus will really make or break a performance. Don't allow your blowing to vary just because you're distracted by something. Don't allow yourself to make a mistake because you're distracted or because you're going from one tune to another and not prepared for what the transition looks like. The transitions are really key to making a set into a cohesive piece of music.
All right, the next thing I want to talk about is deportment. So when you're performing, you should try to act the part just as much as you're looking the part because of your uniform and sounding the part because you're playing very well. And I know you're playing well. Acting the part has a lot to do with being generally kind of military in your bearing. Bagpipers are mostly hired for events that are somewhat formal and ceremonial. So you shouldn't be playing there slouch back, like you're a backup guitarist for a 90s alt-rock band. Try to stand up straight, be kind of at attention, shoulders square, and generally just carry yourself like you're part of an important ceremony. When you're actually getting ready to play, you should take care to strike in and stop in a fairly timely and concise manner. Strike-ins and cuts are a huge part of the overall presentation, even though it has nothing to do with the actual music that you're playing. The strike-in that bands use is counting the call, it's 12 counts. So the pipe major or the leader, and if you are doing this as a soloist, in your head you can think ready, right, quick, march, or band, right, quick, march. 4 counts right there. That's the tempo you're going to be playing at. The next 4 count is, in a band situation, is going to have 3 beats of a snare drum roll and then a pause. During that 4-beat count, you will put your hand on your bag and prepare to strike in. Get your bag as full as it can be without making a sound. And then the last 4 counts will be strike in, bag to armpit, and then chanter on, and then 1 count for pickup notes if there is one. So I will demonstrate with the first going into Scotland the Brave. So it is ready, right, quick, march, 1, 2, 3. And I don't need to play the rest of the tune. That's the whole strike, right? Ready, right, quick, march, hand on the bag, wait, 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 strike, armpit, E, wait. That's because there's no pickup note in Scotland the Brave, and then you're on the tune. If I did have a pickup note, for instance, going into The Dawning of the Day, and I'll show you this side as well. Band, right, quick, march, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, same thing. I had to come in with that pickup note 1 beat early. Some things to watch out for. The call might not be band right quick march or ready right quick march. The term right refers to who you are guiding to. The person on the right is usually the leader. However, the leader might be put in the center, so you could hear band put center, quick march. You could also hear a band at the halt, quick march, or band mark time, quick march. The second thing that is said is just telling you who you're following, basically, when you're marching. Then quick march will pretty much always be said, even if you're not moving. The second 4 count, we put our hands on the bag on beat 1. Some bands will do it on beat 2 or beat 3. And for the actual strike-in, the last 4 count is hugely important, so practice that a lot. When you're striking in, find the sweet spot on your bag. It might be up here, might be back here, might be right underneath the bass drone, but you'll have to test it out a lot and listen for a good half-tone sound coming in. We've talked about that in the past. And of course also, you're going to use your elbow. It's hammer and anvil coming together. It's not slapping with a lazy arm over here. Then practice very quickly, shoving to your armpit. You can practice that over and over and over again. And the last thing is making sure your E comes in nice and crisp. What you don't want to have is a where there's a cutout or a get your E in before your hand comes on. Right, that sounds unprofessional and lazy. Make sure you get your chanter in when you intend to, not before and not after. And then when it's time to cut off, just lean on your bag a little bit and make sure everything comes off together. Don't get that sound going on. So when I'm at the end of the tune, nice, crisp. You can hear everything went off together. Because at the end, you're relying on your elbow, and then you let go. So that's it for stops and starts. Stand up straight, look like you know what you're doing, act like you know what you're doing, sound like you know what you're doing. People will believe you. Good job.
Thanks for watching again, guys. Some final thoughts for you. Keep moving those fingers right. No crossing noises. Take care of your instrument. Check back to the tree of sound for advice on what to focus on. And of course, present yourself well. That means starting well, stopping well, doing everything in the middle well, and looking like you know what you're doing by having sharp dress and deportment. And of course, focus. Take care, guys.